Hi everyone, I'm Allie, and I'm going to show you how to work with these crystal oval stones, featuring a bracelet that you can easily design into a beautiful choker or a necklace with a lot of bling. So if you've been wondering what to do with a lot of your crystals and the crystal stones that don't have holes, stay tuned and watch for some ideas of how to bend the prongs as well as design with them. So to begin this fantabulous sparkly bracelet, we are starting with these oval settings. So the oval settings have the opening, and then they also have holes that go right along the back of the oval setting. Obviously I've already done one sample piece here with some pink tones, and we're going to do this nice kind of aqua underwater theme here. And you can see the prongs down on the crystal, so you can make your own designs, figure out how you want to do it. It also will look beautiful as a necklace too, so if you want to check that out as a necklace. For this design, I have a needle nose pliers here as well as a wire cutter, because we're going to be working with beading cable wire and some crimp beads to create this beautiful open oval design. Now what I want to show first is the technique of how you're actually going to get your crystal oval stones here into the settings. And I have the azure, the opal green, opal blue, aqua, and aqua AB colors that I'm using. Now what you're going to want to do is make sure your prongs are open, and then you're going to gently put your oval right in the center there of this setting. You can see it fits nicely. It is for the design. If you have a nylon jaw pliers, you can use that in this step, but most people don't have that sitting around, or an actual pliers, a set piece to put that in. So if you're just grabbing from your jewelry making materials, you can use your needle nose or your chain nose pliers. I'm going in and holding right underneath the piece with my needle nose pliers, as well as that single prong, and I'm going to bend down the first prong on top of the beads. I'm not pressing super hard, because I'm going to get through and press all of them down one time here, just rotating in, getting some leverage from the back, and pressing just that piece down. I'm making sure that I'm just pinching down that piece, so I'm not going in and harming my stone at all. And now what I'm going to do, now that I have them all easily in there, and you can see how quick and easy that was, I'm going to go back around and just do one more little pinch down, making sure everything's nice and tight. Because when you pinch down one side, it kind of tightens up the other. So you want to go back around one more time, adding in and closing all of those prongs along your ovals. I'm going to continue doing so along here. I have 3 more to go. And then I'm going to show you a simple design technique putting them right next to one another, featuring a beautiful clasp guarding clasp. Once you've got all of your stones in their settings, you're going to want to attach it to a clasp. Or another idea, if you want to, is you can use some stretchy string and go through the back. The 0.7, 0.8 will fit through there if you're looking to create just a nice stretch that goes the whole way around. If you want to, you can separate them out more. Like I did here, I have 2 seed beads and then 1 crystal with only 6 of my stones in settings. Here I'm going to use a couple more, and I'm going to put them closer together, changing up the design slightly. I have a piece here of the bead-along beading cable, and you can use the 0.015, you can use 0.018, and I'm just sliding that onto one side of my clasp here. From here, I'm going to add one of my bicones, and I'm using the green opal color, going again with that little underwater seam. And then I'm going to spread my strands out. I'm using some 11/0 seed beads here, just as little spacers in between. You can also use 2 3mm rounds. And I'm going to pick up 1 and 2 of those on both strands. What's important when you're going from 1 strand to 2 strands, basically, because we're going to separate this out, is to make sure that it sits nicely when you're working with it. So we want to make sure that we're not showing a ton of extra wire, and that it's sitting correctly as you're working with it. So here I have my 2 seed beads on right after that crystal, and I'm going to separate those out, add my first of my setting stone here, and I want to turn it upside down so I make sure that the stranding cable here is going from one side and then out the other. It can be a little bit tricky to do. You kind of just get your eyesight in there and put it right on through. And as I put this on and through, I can determine if I want another seed bead to space it out or if my spacing is good. Once I have the first one on, then it's really easy to continue my pattern and figure out Yep, spacing's great, doesn't show a lot of extra wire, good to go. The wire is silver anyway. Now I'm going to continue with a pattern. I need to make sure when I'm looking at my piece here that all of my stone settings are facing upright. So my pattern is going to be a little bit closer than here. And what I'm going to do is add one 11-0 seed bead, followed by one of my 4mm crystals, another 11-0 seed bead. I'm going to do that on both sides. That's going to work as my separator before I put on my next crystal. So both sides will get that exact same pattern. If you want to do it closer yet, you can just delete or omit the 11-0 seed beads. And then from here, you're going to grab your next crystal. Make sure as you're putting it on that you're putting the correct strand through the correct hole. So that way your crystals will all be facing upright. So on goes the next crystal. String through one, string through the other, and then push it up. Now you can look at it and determine and say, do I like that length and that space between each? Do I want more? Do I want less? I'm going to continue adding in all of my crystals, or at least 7 to 8 of them, and spacing them out individually. From there, I'm going to show you how I go in and just use one crimp bead to do the entire end and how we get a nice fit and a nice look, polished and kind of high-end look at the end. As you get to the end of the project, there's a couple different ways that you can do the crimp tubes. You can hide them behind the oval themselves. You can share one right near the clasp there. I'm going to make it so that you don't see it as much. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace 2 of our seed beads, the first one before the crystal, with our crimp tubes. So I have my crimp tubes on here, so I'm just omitting one of my 11-0 seed beads. I'm going to put my 11-0 seed bead then after that crimp tube, just to stay with the design and the look. Take my 4mm bicone now and grab both of those strands through the bicone. Push that down onto the piece there, and you can see you can hardly see those crimp tubes there because they look like an 11-0 seed bead. We're going to take our needle and thread through the tongue side of the clasp. If you have a wire guard or a wire protector, you can do that as well here if you're going to add a different clasp. And then I'm going to take both strands here back down through this 4mm bead. I'm going to separate them out. One strand is going to go to one side, one strand is going to go to the other side. I'm going to put them through the 11-0 seed bead, as well as the crimp tube, as well as the crystal, and then bring that strand out. If you need to, you can kind of grab that with your pliers and just bring out that little extra strand. So that way when we cut the strand and we finish it off, it's completely concealed and you don't see it. So there's one side. I'm going to get the other one in here, and then we'll tighten it up and we will crimp away. All right, so now you want to make sure, just like at the beginning, the end is no different. You want to make sure that you're coming straight out the middle of your oval. Pull one side of your clasp, pull the other side of your clasp wire. Make sure they're about even, tightening them up. And then go in with a flat nose pliers, since we have 2 strands going through there. Flatten that out, one side, flatten out the other side. Going in, making sure they're nice and flat. And then once again, going in with your wire cutters here, cutting down the extra wire. And what's nice about this is that extra wire then, as I'm pulling up and giving a fair amount of tension, will just slide behind that open oval and you won't see it. You can see how much nicer concealing and hiding the crimp beads like that in part of the project looks versus having the crimp there at the end. So we've increased our crystal look while decreasing a lot of that silver end and having the clasp further apart to finish off this beautiful oval bracelet. And I know that you guys like to see them on. This one's going to be a little bit big for me, but you can see all that beautiful bling. Thanks so much for staying in and having fun learning how to work with these oval settings, which work wonderfully for rivolis and teardrops and the ovals as well. So check out our full stock. If you want to check those out, go ahead and look at the description of the video to get links to all of the products online. As always, enjoy the next video and happy beading, everyone.